test print of a functional part running a hammer extruder with electroless nickel and copper plated volcano hot end with a titanium heat break and a nozzle X nozzle coated with tungsten disulfide to help with buildup of print material on it to keep down. This is not the final iteration of this machine. CoreXY, clearly you can see it's a very large format, 700. So in this direction here, in the background, we're actually doing some testing right now on fans and cooling arrangements. So pardon that volume going off. We're trying to see how much of a difference it makes on some of the A and B motors. But this is a nice functional part printed with B-Sun PETG on an entirely custom bed. Comes with all of our kits for this textured side is wonderful. It never needs refreshing or any sort of sanding like some of the flat sides do every once in a while, because it's textured. It keeps that ability to grip innately. It's just part of it. We apologize for the background. There's a lot of tissues around because this is really close to our SLA printing center, where we do a lot of cleaning for post-processing and things like that. I'll show this off. So this unit right now is currently featuring a carriage that is you can see the G3 there. That features a optical runout sensor, but also for backup auxiliary, and then a runout and stall or jam detection magnetic sensor, filament sensor featured here. But this runs in tandem with it, so that if a stall or anything is detected, or rather if there's filament runout, this filament system keeps the filament right above where it needs to be throughout the whole print. It carries it along with it to have a short route to the through the path all the way to the nozzle. But this little advanced notice runout sensor helps you in the exchange of changing filaments if it does run out in the spool, as this jam and stall detector has to operate by viewing a lot of printing over time and averaging that out to detect if there's a stall or jam, so it's not always instantaneous. Whereas a switch like this, that you'll actually have an emergency red light that'll come on to let you know that there is a problem if you're in need of replacing filaments, and that actually lets you have the extra filaments still here to be able to pull out from the Hemera. People that don't run a setup like this will often notice that this magnetic filament sensor will only detect that it's run out of filament too late, to where it's already well past the point of being able to be gripped or caught for filament change. This here and other things that I want to explain here that you're seeing are the actual carriage here is printed right now out of PETG. That's for testing purposes before we machine it out of 6061 or ATP5 plate for all those components. Other things are the wiring loom here is shown featuring these zip ties, which will not be there, as the addition of our laser runout sensor was was added on later, and we wanted to have those keep that down. And we also nicked this umbilical, but that will not be the case for any production units. The other things of difference are we may offer a few like this with the 4020 fan just for the size, but the 5015 that we have on our other printer, our other CoreXY option, a little bit smaller, and instead of being rectangular, it's square. This one of course being our largest, and as you can see here, genuine high wind rails all the way around with long axis, and they extend all the way to the ends of the frame, which is important for what comes next, which is tool changing. The E3D tool changer main body. Sorry, I have to hide this for 1 second. Has been modified to run on an MGN12 or much more sturdy rail like this that you can see, which is also genuine high wind. That will be that'll be standard on these. We may offer a cheaper version that may not have the high wind rails if it's in regards to making it a little bit more affordable unit. And also it might not feature the genuine Gates GT2 or 2GT belting that we have here, which is just very premium. But as I mentioned, the extra length of the I like to, some call it the X. I like to view it as the Y-axis, with the X being the one with the carriage on it, running all the way back off of the behind these end plates here. Has to do with the E3D tool changer, which of course we have retrofitted so that it can use the larger MGN12 carriage is featured here. This larger size, meaning it's a 12mm rail instead of the 9 or whatever it was originally intended for. That was really just a little too weak for what we saw we needed. So this allows tool changing, where tools will be presented here or mounted here in various ways with the corresponding adapters connected here to park them. And this, of course, actuator allows you to come pick up the next tool. This will have a covering over the back, of course. Just letting you see how this will work. So it's actually going to be rotated around when that happens. So you'll have a Hamera extruder tool, for example. But the reason for this extra length, the full high-wind rails, is so that we can get, even with the larger apparatus of the tool changing head like this, and the tool, which could be an extruder, a Hamera extruder, a Titan Arrow, or something like that. It could also be a subtractive CNC type of tool. There's just a number of tools that are possible, but these rails are that way as we have taken into account the need for this to come back a little bit further like that, so that we can utilize the full build volume of the board as to not waste any available space. Other things, anyway, so that's just a little bit about that. Other things are that, just like with our high-end Creality 360-degree fan shroud, which you can see we have trouble locating right now. This too will have a 360-degree part cooling duct, and will likely be upgraded to the 15 millimeter 24-volt fan, and a different ducting this ducting is printed, and we actually are going to go with injection molded or SLA produced. So here we go. You see it's homing here. The sensors turn off like that. Give you that nice dual and parts all the way. All right, we've got our completed component. It gives you a nice beep there to let you know that it has completed the print. And this print is made for high strength, for actual practical use, and as an in-use part. I think this is going to a certain press of some kind that needed a flexible material that, such as the PETG, to be able to grasp a rail of some sort here, and then we have the throughput locations for bolts here, and then some special geometries that have to do with the part that it's going to attach to. So anyway, very strong print, and let's just see. We normally wait a little bit longer before we would try to remove it, but in this case, let me see if I can go ahead and just try to do that with our flex sheets here. You can see they're very easy to lift up. They're held on by a magnetic pad the size of the bed, as you can see below. And let's see if we can't go ahead and just lift this up through here. The great thing is, with the dimensions of the machine, again, you can see in the bottom here the smooth PETG or PEI, polyethylamine, and literally just a tiny flex like that, and a tiny movement is all you need to free your part. So then we're going to put this back here. Just as easy as that. Slide it in there, align it. I'm doing this one-handed, so needs a little bit more help sometimes, but that is literally all it takes. Get that, your finalized part popped off very easily to go into post-processing now. All right, so we just wanted to share our studio printer. More naming information will come as the various options become available for this. So, but this is the professional, most high-end machine that we offer here. I guess the last few things I wanted to mention are a lot of the things you see of the frame will be upgraded very soon to larger aluminum. And for example, these standardized 8mm guide rails are being changed momentarily to these 16mm thick guide rails for a truly rigid industrial machine bed. And you can see here the actual component attached to that is right here, just like this. It will be machined to fit up with the bed, and you can see the amount of rigidity and strength gained by that big of a difference. It's massive. So too will we change the lead screw from this ACME trapezoidal 8mm to at least a 12 or possibly 16mm ball screw, so that you can get a lot more precision with the decreased friction that the ball screws offer when dealing with such a heavy bed, due to the need to have true leveling with MIC 6 plating here on the bed to help it not sag in anywhere, unlike cheap Chinese printer beds that have some of those dead spots in them. This is a very flat, true level bed. All right, thank you guys so much. Interested, stay tuned for a little bit more info on updates with this machine. If you're interested in a large format CoreXY machine that will also allow for tool changing in the very near future. We've already developed a great number of tools, and again, we have modified the E3D's system of the actual tool changer to fit the much larger and more robust MGN 12 millimeter railing versus the 9 or so it was meant for. So it's a much sturdier machine and a much sturdier platform for tool changing in general. Alright, thank you. This is Gerald with G3 Productions. Appreciate any if you've watched. And again, we do apologize for some of the napkins in the background there. We're right near SLA printing area where we have to clean up a lot of resin. Alright, so we're going to go clean up this part, take out these supports, but love the texture that this bed provides on the inner side here. See that wonderful texture? That's one of the many things. You could optionally choose to use the smooth side, but for this industrial part, the user of this has selected that they did want a textured side, at least on this one portion of it. So we're going to clean it up, but it already comes out even with a very large nozzle such as that, with a lot of great detail and a lot of strength. Alright, thank you so much. Have a great day, and thank you for considering us here at G3 Productions. Bye.